Alright, so in the last lesson we just added tiles to our game. In this lesson we'll be adding lights using the URP package. So to add the URP package, you're just gonna go to Window, go to Package Manager, and I'm just gonna select Unity Registry. And right here I'm just gonna type in Universal Render Pipeline. Here it is. Now install it. So the Universal Render Pipeline is basically a pre-built render pipeline made by Unity. You can create optimized graphics for a range of platforms using it. We're just going to be using the 2D lighting functionality from it, and wait a bit for it to install. It's not going to take too much. Alright, so after the package is downloaded, just close the window. I'm going to right click in the assets, go to create, go to rendering, right here in the bottom. Now this won't show unless you have the Universal Render Pipeline package installed. So go to URP asset with 2D renderer, URP lights. Now it'll create a new URP lights asset. Go to edit, go to project settings, go to graphic, and set in the URP lights to the render pipeline asset. Click on continue, and now you have it done. Go to the player's material and go to the material section in the sprite renderer component. Deselect this eye icon and select sprite lit renderer, sprite lit default. And now go to the tile map, go to the tile map renderer and go to the material section, deselect the eye icon again and go to sprite lit default. Now I'm gonna right click in the hierarchy, go to light and select spotlight 2D. Now everything just turned to black, and that's actually a good sign. So now if we go and put this light near the player lights up. I actually have a lot of different settings for this light right here. You can actually put it here. We can make the strength of it, we can change the strength of it, we can change the fall off strength of it. So basically just play around with the settings and see which you prefer. Awesome, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select the player and right click on the player, go to light and select a spotlight 2D. Now it'll create a light as a child of our player. What I'm gonna do is set the intensity to 0.4, set the outer radius to something like 2.11, and set the inner radius to something like 0, maybe 8. Increase the intensity a bit. I'm gonna create a new 2D object, sprites. I'm gonna select this square sprite. Now I'm gonna make it a bit bigger. I'm gonna set it as the background, so I'm gonna make the original layer for its -1. I'm gonna set it like this, like so. Maybe even -5. I'm gonna change the color of it to this blue color. Feel free to copy this color if you want, or just select any color you want. Now I think the light is a bit too much. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select the inner light to be 0, and the outer light to be 2.11. I'm going to create a new global light, another global light, so a global light 2D. A global light just basically lights up the entire scene. That's why it's called global light. And I'm going to set the color of this global light to this color. I'm going to set the intensity to 0.12. Maybe changes if you want to something a bit darker, but I'm going to keep it something like this. I'm going to go back to the player and set the fall off strength to something like 0.668. And awesome, these settings look pretty good. I'm gonna create another light 2D. We create a 2D light. I'm gonna go to light again, and I'm gonna select freeform light and select square. Awesome, so this freeform light is actually a pretty handy tool. It's like the spotlight, but you can actually edit the shape of it. So I'm just gonna edit the shape to match the eyes shape. So something like this. I'm gonna change the color of it to something like yellow. I'm gonna set the color of it to something like this, the intensity to something like 1.19, and the fall off strength to something like 1.71, and the fall off strength, set it all the way to 1. Now I'm gonna duplicate this right eye and set it for the left eye. Alright, so now it looks pretty good. I also would like to say that if you want to change the settings a bit and make it look a bit better and make it suit your preferences, have at it. You don't have to follow these settings bit by bit. If you want to change these settings, feel free to.